Alrighty, everybody. What's going on, y'all? Happy Friday. Hope everyone is doing good out there. I'm going to get everything all set up, and then we will be good to go, my friends. So we're watching the tropics. We got ourselves a few systems that we are continuing to monitor, as well as Aaron. Aaron's still quite a beast, but has finally kind of pulled away from all areas of the U.S. coast, as well as out there by Bermuda. Thankfully, a lot of that is over with here. We're still going to be feeling some of those impacts, though. Current wise, rip current wise, and some coastal impacts and big waves still are going to be lingering around for a little bit here. But anyways. Well, it's good to see you guys. What's up, K-Jack? Saying hi, Andrew. What's up? Good to see you, my friend. So, since Aaron is pretty much done, we do have a couple other systems that we do need to be monitoring here. We got 90L. They actually have upgraded the probabilities of this guy becoming a system here. As of right now, the cone has an overall, or the disturbance here has an overall 90% chance probability of development here throughout the next 7 days. And throughout the next 48 hours, or the next 2 days, we even have a high 80% chance. The probability of this thing developing is actually quite decent here. Let's bring up the MDR here. We're going to take a look at the satellite view. We'll see everything that's going on here, but this system actually does have a pretty good shot. There's also that other system that we're watching. The probability has actually been going down a bit. Earlier today, this disturbance, this is 99L. 99L has pretty much been losing a lot of support here lately. Let's see here. Good to see you, too. Glad you're on doing these updates. Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here for you guys. Like I mentioned, from here on out, y'all, every day at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we are going to be doing a daily live streams regardless of what's going on. Regardless of, what's essentially happening out there, because, it's good to keep you guys updated with everything going on, whether it's tropics or severe weather or winter weather, but we're not in the season for that quite yet. But speaking of, we are going to be doing a winter forecast here, hopefully within the next week and a half or so. So we'll be putting out that winter forecast for you guys here pretty soon, of course. But yeah, hopping back to the tropics, though, like I mentioned, we still got Aaron. Aaron's still erranding around, essentially doing some errands. Bad joke. System right now is right up to, 90 mile an hour sustained here, moving east-northeast at a whopping 33 miles an hour. It's actually picked up quite a bit of speed here. What's up, Bunzy? Saying hi, Andrew. Good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well. But yeah, we are still down to 957 millibars. It's still a big old system here. But yeah, we're moving east-northeast here at a whopping 33 miles per hour. What's up, Josh? Good to see you. So system's doing pretty well. Now, later down in time, the system, is going to continue to work its way northeast here. It's running into a bit of dry air, wind shear, as well as cooler waters it's going into now. Believe it or not, on the forecast track, while it's not a hurricane anymore, it's a post-tropical cyclone, still has very similar effects of, hurricanes and all. The main difference is just like that there's, not as deep convection. The waters are a lot cooler, typically. But we are expecting a little bit of strengthening to occur as the system continues pulling its way to the northeast here. You can see at this point in time, the system is just located just to the south here of Nova Scotia. Here's Sable Island, just south of Sable Island here. So, a lot of the system has moved its way away from the United States here, which is, certainly good. Certainly good. But like we mentioned, there still is going to be some impacts. The surges are still a pretty big concern here. Let me actually bring you guys over here to the Hurricane Center real quickly. I'll go ahead and show y'all what we got going on here. So if we take a look here at the surge map here, or not surges, rip currents, that's what I was going with here. Rip currents are still a pretty big concern here. You can see this is the interactive map from the Hurricane Center. And you can see that, Florida's east coast here, these are high-risk zones in the red. You can see Florida's east coast here, a little bit of North Carolina's coast, Virginia's coast, up here across the entire northeast as well. From Maryland throughout Delaware, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, or, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, coastal Maine, these areas here are still in a high rip current risk here overall, which, that is expected to be a big concern, which, that does put it into the high concern. So I would not recommend anybody going into the water quite yet. For tomorrow as well, you can see tomorrow's forecast here, relatively the same. Going to be a pretty big concern here for rip currents and stuff like that. So we'll, just need to try to avoid those beaches and stuff because it's still going to be a little bit rough out there. Good to see you, Caitlin. Hope you're doing good. Saying hi, Andrew, in chat. What's up? Good to see you. Bunsy says, good, ready for fall and winter. I hear you. I'm ready for it to cool down a little bit. I ain't going to lie. It's been a little toasty here, but yeah, I'm ready for things to cool down just a tad. Absolutely. But it's good to see you guys. Hope everyone's having a good evening. But, like I said, between today, though, and tomorrow, we do have a pretty big rip current concern here. So a lot of the beaches, still would advise staying away from the coastal areas. As, rip currents are still a big problem. A big storm like Erin really moves around a lot of water. So it takes a little bit of time for things to naturally slow down and naturally calm back down. But like we mentioned here, and really one of the main reasons for this live stream is that we're watching another system here. You can actually see it. This is 90L, a relatively new invest. It was here, I believe, yesterday it became an invest here. But you can see, we do have a bit of convection going on with it. It's still not super organized right now, as you can kind of tell. It's still pretty disorganized for the most part. Convection's pretty scattered for the most part. If you look at those lower levels here, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a lot of upper level clouds that's kind of covering, the circulation. It's not completely closed circulation right now. It's still a little bit disorganized, but it's looking a little bit better. And there is a bit of rotation under that upper level clouds that is ongoing here. But, like I mentioned, we do got some convection popping through. Definitely is convecting a little bit better. Now, this system is going to continue pulling to the north here. Now, this is going to get pretty fairly close to Bermuda, which Bermuda should monitor the storm here. It's going to be a system that we're going to continue to monitor, and that we'll definitely have to look out here for overall. But in terms of imminent impacts right now, there is no active warnings, any watches or advisories or anything like that as of right now. So the Hurricane Center here. The overall probability and stuff that they got for the system here, they put it at an overall 90% chance of formation. You can see throughout the next 7 days here, we have ourselves a whopping 90% chance of formation here. So formation chance through the next 7 days, high 90%, and the formation chance through the next 48 hours is also a high 80%. So we're likely going to get another depression or maybe even a tropical storm here. I mean, as soon as within the next day or two. It's as you can see here from the quotes from the Hurricane Center. It says, environmental conditions appear conducive for further development of the system, and a tropical storm is very likely to form this weekend while it moves northwestward and northward over the southwestern Atlantic. Interest in Bermuda should monitor the progress of the storm, and watches or warnings could be required on Saturday. That's what I was wanting to tell you guys about. And that's really what this stream is about here. The Hurricane Center does have eyes on Bermuda, so as we do as well. So we're definitely going to keep an eye out there for that. Now, like we mentioned, not a whole lot of progress with it right now. It's still pretty disorganized, but, over the next few days, it is going to pick up some strength here as the environment does seem available for some strengthening here. So once again, overall 90% in the next 7 days, 80% in the next 48 hours. Now, let's go and take a look at these spaghetti models here, y'all. First of all, we're going to talk about 90L real quickly. Actually, we'll do 99L. Yeah, we're going to take a look at 99L. So 99L is actually this guy over here, the one that's a little bit further to the south here. So there's the Cabo Verde. Here's the Antilles. This is northern South America, just so you guys can kind of see what part of the world we're in here. So, well east of the Antilles, we got a little bit of a system popping through here. We got some convection going on, a little bit of circulation. Probability has actually dropped here since earlier. I think we were at an overall 40% chance earlier. We're now down to an overall 30% chance of formation throughout the next 7 days. So, the probability of this thing forming is not super high right now. Unlike the one up to the north that we got to watch out for Bermuda. This is not the same system. These are two individual systems here. But for the 99L here, Here's a look at the spaghetti models, keeping this thing fairly low, as you can actually see. I mean, the models are on pretty good agreement in terms of, at least throughout the next 72 hours, the next 3 days of where the system could go. It looks like the low is going to be tracking over the southern Antilles here, out there by the Windward Islands, which we do need to look out for. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Windward Islands are the southern islands and the leeward are the top ones. Remember, correct me if I'm wrong there, but here out there in the Antilles, we could get some impacts out there. And once again, nothing major though. You can see the system is expected to roll over, which could bring some rain, could bring some concerns like that. But nothing major, more than likely. So that's the track here of 99L. Now the same models, but looking at the intensity guidance here. So this is the hurricane models here, and just looking at the plot of intensity rather than actual, plotting of where it's at or expected to go. The future cast essentially for the path of the storm. This is the intensity. And you can see it's kind of all over the place. I mean, we've got a few models that suggest that the system could pick up in some strength. Maybe get up in the tropical storm force. There is a handful of models that support that, but there's also quite a few models that just has this thing. Either pretty much just subtropical storm, as you can see for the most part. Maybe a depression could develop out of it. It's certainly possible. But, 99L, not a whole lot of concerns as of right now with this guy. I mean, once again, right now it's pretty disorganized as well. Got a little bit of a chance of development as we continue westward, as it will go its way over here towards the Antilles, but we'll have to definitely just keep a close eye out there for that. Now, hopping up back over here to 90L here. This is that new system that we're watching here. So on Invest 90L, once again, the system it's convecting pretty good right now. There's a lot of upper level clouds that's kind of covering the circulation, but there is a bit of circulation under it. It's just hard to see. It's just those upper level clouds are really kind of obscuring some of the viewing there. Models, honestly, the hurricane models are pretty solid at this point in time here, but we still could have some concern for Bermuda. We'll talk about that here in a minute. As you can see, the majority of the hurricane models here are actually in pretty fair agreement that the system is just going to kind of, pull its way northwest over the next day, and then between, tomorrow and or today, between today and tomorrow, or between tomorrow and the day after, I should say, between 24 and 48 hours, we're going to start pulling to the north here. So that little speck you see right here, that's Bermuda. System, according to the main models, keeps the center of the storm just to the right-hand side of Bermuda, or just to the east here. So at this point in time, a direct landfall does not really seem possible, or not really likely anyways, regarding the current models here. Now, in terms of intensity, though, this is where it gets a little interesting. So the intensity guidance actually, the majority of all models does indeed suggest the system becoming a tropical storm. And the middle ground of the models here does have this thing potentially becoming pretty close even to maybe minimal hurricane. There is a few models that really do support that, like the HWRF, which we'll get into here in a few moments here. But, in terms of everything here, I mean, we do have a lot of support, though, for at least a tropical storm. So, yeah, we'll make sure to just to continue monitoring that here pretty closely. Now, so that's the models here regarding 90L here. Overall. So basically the way those invests work is you have, 90L, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, then back to 90L. So they can only have, 9 invests at a time, essentially, or, 9 invests here. So that's kind of how that works, but you're never really going to have 9 investigations at the same time. That's why they have, just everything resetting overall. What's up, Scott? Saying hi, Andrew, and everyone. Good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're doing well. Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing good. Yeah, we're just kind of hanging out here, just talking about the tropics and all that stuff here. Like I said, we do got 2 systems that we're watching other than Aaron. I mean, Aaron's still equivalent to a Category 1 hurricane right now, but it is post-tropical cyclone. I know in the potential, or the top left, it shows potential tropical cyclone. I need to get my code fixed there because that's a little bit of a bug that I have here, but yeah, it is a post-tropical cyclone here. It's officially moved into cooler waters for one, as well as a lot of wind shear, a lot of dry air is getting to it right now. So, but believe it or not, Aaron, like we mentioned here earlier, Aaron's actually expected to strengthen back up to equivalent Category 2. On the forecast track, once we work our way further up into the North Atlantic Ocean, or the up here towards the Arctic Circle, which I believe that's a lot further up north, but up here, into the very far northern Atlantic Ocean here, definitely are going to be seeing, things possibly picking up in a little bit of strength here. So that's certainly interesting here. But anyways, that's that. But yeah, no, hopping back over here to the models. Actually, we're gonna dive into those now here. Before we do though, back over at 90L. So you can see that this is the GEFS ensemble. So this is a bunch of members here. You can see Bermuda, that little speck right here. Majority, the middle ground here is in that black line that you see. You can see the members keeping this thing mostly just to the east of Bermuda. So, like we mentioned, it doesn't look really likely for a landfall on Bermuda at this point in time, which is good. It looked a little bit more iffy yesterday when those first few models started coming through. But things have improved and the system has shifted eastward, which is definitely good. But like we mentioned, though, this thing is likely getting ready to become a tropical storm here, probably within the next 1 to 2 days. So I wouldn't be surprised if Saturday or Sunday we do get a tropical storm developing. But like we mentioned here, I mean, from the Hurricane Center, they even mentioned here, I know you guys can't really see that very well, so let's move it down a bit. Look at this. Tropical storm is very likely to form this weekend while it moves to the northwest, or it moves northwestward and then northward over the southwestern Atlantic. But look at this. Interest in Bermuda should monitor the progression of the storm here. So that's from the Hurricane Center. That's what they got going on here. But so that's another thing is like the Hurricane Center is saying that Bermuda does need to look out for, and that's what we're really looking at here for today. But anyways, let's take a peek here at the models. We're gonna pull up the the HWRF model here first. So this is 90L. This is the 18 UTC run here according to the HWRF. So, just gradual development here over the next little bit is going to be expected. You can see right there. There's Bermuda. HWRF does keep the system relatively far, relatively east of Bermuda. We could get a few bands working their way out there. So we'll have to, just see. We'll just have to see what happens with that there. In terms of moisture, as you can kind of tell, over the next little bit, there could be some pockets of dry air maybe getting into the storm, maybe slowing it down at times. But, for the most part, it does contain a pretty good amount of moisture according to the HWRF model here. So that's certainly good, for the storm anyways. The HRF here you can see, so there's Bermuda once again right there. The HRF does actually, has the system maybe briefly developing an eye here, but we can't take that too serious though. But you can see the system just mostly remaining east of Bermuda here according to the HRF. But still, a little bit of rain bands could be possible. A little bit of influence showers and storms could be possible out there. Let's see here. Cole says, question about the categorization of Atlantic cyclones. What exactly does post-tropical cyclone mean? Saw that today, even though Aaron had like 90-mile-per-hour winds. So post-tropical cyclone means it is officially not classified as a hurricane anymore. Likely because, in this case, and for Aaron, it's moved up into cooler waters that's non-tropical. So it's no longer a tropical system. It's, currently not a tropical system. Despite it still being a very strong storm, it's classified differently as post-tropical because it's moved out of the tropical waters. So, like I said, right now we're over some pretty chilly waters, and the system is no longer in the tropical environment here, essentially. And I know you said on the comment here, you're saying, is this label seems new over the last 5 years? No, I believe it's been there for many, many years before that. But hopefully that makes sense because, like I mentioned, the waters here, which I'll go ahead and show you actually. Let me bring it up on my other screen here. But yeah, I'll show you where the waters are a lot cooler here. So hopping you guys back over here, I know it's kind of hard to see. We're gonna have to pull up the whole North Atlantic. So at this point in time, Aaron, you can actually see where Aaron went here, kind of cut through and has now kind of worked its way over here. So at this point in time, Aaron is starting to reach its way into some really cooler waters, as you can see. And on the forecast track has the system, eventually going up even higher into those colder waters. But, for tropical cyclone activity, you need those temperatures of like 26 degrees Celsius and greater. And since it's actually going to be pulling out of those waters, it's not going to be classified as tropical because it's no longer a tropical cyclone. Does that make sense? So, anyways, but yeah, you can see eventually it will be rolling into some cooler waters here as it's actually starting to right about now. So that is that, and hopefully that kind of helped, clear some things up here with you. Hopefully it did. But regardless though, I mean, post-tropical, tropical cyclone, they're both still very strong. In this case, Erin is still a beast of a storm here. And it's while it has moved into cooler waters, they just are a little bit mechanically different than a tropical cyclone. What's up, Darian? Good to see you, my friend. Saying hi, Andrew. Good to see you. Yeah, you too. You too, my friend. Hopefully you're doing good. Anyways, but yeah, so back over to the HRF, the HWRF here. So yeah, on 90L, it keeps it mostly just east of Bermuda for the most part here, as you can kind of tell. So that's that. We'll continue watching it over the next little bit here. There could be some some wave action going on out there. Most of the winds here, according to HRF, stay away. It's a fairly small system actually. This system's not like Erin. Erin was a beast of a storm. It was huge. Erin was a massive hurricane, but in terms of this system here, it's a lot more smaller, a lot more compact, essentially. So it's a lot different in that sense here. So that's the HRF. Moving our way over here into the HMON. So here's the Haman model. Let's see. Let's see, 90L. Here we go. Okay, so the HMON here actually has the system getting a little bit closer to Bermuda. As you can see, Bermuda possibly dealing with maybe 20-knot sustained winds here at its peak, which, isn't tropical storm force related. Those tropical storm force winds really start here once it kind of turns green. You can see, most of the tropical storm force and near hurricane strength, just mostly remains just off away from Bermuda. So this is the HMON model once again. Now, with the moisture, the HMON is a little bit more, what's the word for it? A little bit more dry, essentially. As you can see, according to the model here, it looks like it could struggle with a bit of moisture. The brownish tan colors that you're seeing here, this is, dry air. Showing that there is a bit more drier conditions out in the environment, in the atmosphere, which is not good for tropical cyclones. They need a lot of moisture, and there's not a whole lot of moisture in the brown here. On the southern side of the storm here for this hour, which is, you can see this is for 11 a.m. on the 25th, so a couple days away here. According to this model, it keeps the southern extent of the storm pretty saturated. Maybe most of the convection just being south of the main central low, which the middle of the storm's right here, but you can see definitely some drier conditions out there, overall from the Haman. But, yeah, I mean, it does show a bit of a dry concern here according to this in particular model here. But, the HWRF showed a little bit of dry air, maybe at times, but not nearly as severe as the HMON does here, so there's that. So now hopping over to HAFSA, looking at the moisture here, kind of a similar concern, maybe running into a little bit of, drier air. You can see everything mostly just away from Bermuda for the most part here, which is, certainly good. According to this model as well, things just basically remain just east of Bermuda. Not a whole lot of strengthening here, with this in particular model. Things don't really pick up too crazy like some of the other models do, which is, good, of course. HFSA is a little bit more tame, per se. Then, of course, lastly, with the main hurricane models, we've got HAFSB here. Taking a look here back at 90L. Now, in terms of HAFSB, not a whole lot of differences here either. I mean, there could be some bits of convection, maybe a little bit of showers, kind of associated with the storm, maybe getting towards Bermuda, but, these models here don't really suggest anything massive here. The closest one to Bermuda is by far. I keep on clicking on Erin because I'm used to doing Erin's tracking here. But the closest model here, from what I'm seeing, is the HMON. Has this thing getting a little bit closer, but still just off the coast here of Bermuda, just to the just to the east here, which would definitely be pretty good. What's up, Andy? Good to see ya. Hopefully you're doing well. Yes, tabletop, you're good. Anyways, but yeah, so that's that. GFS, on the other hand, we love the GFS. GFS has been being a little funky. It's been following some different storms. So let's hop to the West Atlantic view here. So GFS, With this system, you can see there is Bermuda here. You can see just east of Bermuda, we do have a little bit of a low here. Not really doing much. We do have a front here, it looks like. Another low kind of developing off the U.S. southeast coast, pushing to the northeast here, according to GFS. Acting as a frontal system, which would kind of keep it away from, going further westward. So that's definitely good. That's definitely good. So it'll trail behind. Plus Aaron kind of pulling it behind a little bit too. But GFS keeps it minimal depression, if that's just kind of a low. And not really a whole lot with it. The ECMWF here, the Euro ECMWF also kind of keeps it mostly east of Bermuda, not really developing them much. CMC, kind of the same thing, just east of Bermuda. So more than likely the system, comparing to the models we have right now, most likely it'll just remain, just east of Bermuda, which is certainly good. But, like we mentioned, we still need to monitor Bermuda. They're not 100% out of the woods yet. I mean, once again, even the Hurricane Center, they said, interest in here. Let's bring this back down for you guys. You can see where they said interest in Bermuda should monitor the progression of the storm. Watches or warnings could be required on Saturday. So we'll see what happens. I mean, some models show different than others. Some models show it worse than others, and they're all not in agreement quite yet. But the good news is that it doesn't, at this point in time, it doesn't look like we're going to have a direct landfall over Bermuda. Once again, the main hurricane models here, as you can see, has the thing just remaining mostly just east of Bermuda here for the most part. Over the next day, we're going to be traveling northwestward here, and in between, tomorrow and the day after, we're going to be starting to pull to the north here overall. So things should definitely stick a little bit here to, stick to the east here of Bermuda overall. So anyways, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know. But yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at there in terms of 90L. Not really a whole lot of any super major concerns here. But we could get maybe a tropical storm. We'll have to see. Maybe hurricane. We can't rule it out yet either. There's just a lot of uncertainty at this point in time here, and we'll just have to keep a close eye out there for it. Now, switching things up a little bit here, talking about the states here. We got a level 1 threat for severe weather today, extending from the Rockies through the Central Plains up into the upper Midwest here, a little bit of the Great Lakes region here. Nothing really big. We do not have a tornado threat tonight, thankfully. A little bit of a gusty wind concern, a little bit of hail possible. Tomorrow, believe it or not, we actually do not have any risk of severe weather, which is pretty darn good. The only thing we got going on is just a bunch of thunderstorm risks here from the Rockies into the Central Plains, and then from the Ohio Valley down into the southeast and the deep south here. So a little bit of storms here possible in the green. It's just typical, summertime thunderstorms. Then we work our way into day 3, which would be on Sunday. As of right now, Sunday has a little itty-bitty risk here for eastern Colorado, a little bit of western Kansas here. No breakdown in terms of, the severity, quite yet. Whether it's being tornadoes, hail, damaging winds, it's not quite classified quite yet. So we'll learn more about that tomorrow. And then in the extended range here, let's see here. We'll do the probability here. So for day 3, this is for Sunday. Now going into Monday, we have nothing. Nothing for Tuesday, nothing for Wednesday, nothing for Thursday, nothing for Friday. So we're pretty chill. Yeah, severe weather isn't going to be much of a concern for the next couple of days. So that's definitely good. And tomorrow, as of right now, we don't have any risk for severe weather, which is very good. So right now, all of our eyes are just on the tropics. And, once again, in terms of Aaron, Aaron is moving away. The system is continually working its way to the northeast here. It's just, pulling further away from the U.S. Like we mentioned, though, there still is going to be some pretty rough waters lingering around for a couple days. So if you're going to the beach, I'd recommend that you stay out of the water because, rip current concerns are still high for a lot of the East Coast. It depends on what beach you're at, but, for example, even like eastern Florida, we still got really high rip current concerns out here. I mean, I'll even bring this back up here from the Hurricane Center for you guys, looking at this here. So this is the rip current map here from the Hurricane Center, in which, you can see, so there's Aaron where it's at right now. You can see today's rip current, still has eastern Florida, Coastal portions of North Carolina, all the way up across the Northeast here, still in a high risk for rip currents here. So, and even tomorrow too. Tomorrow having quite a pretty big rip current risk as well across those red areas. Moderate risk out there in the yellow. Just be a little extra cautious, and then the low risk areas here is pretty good here in the kind of gray color, the light gray. So, anyways, what's up, Sonia? Good to see ya. How's it looking in East Tennessee? Ain't really nothing going on in East Tennessee, so you're looking pretty good. Yeah, like I mentioned, severe weather-wise, everything's pretty calm here. The only thing we really got going on here is just, a little bit of storms up here in the Central Plains, a little bit of the Rockies and the Great Lakes here today. But other than that, nothing big. Tomorrow, general thunderstorm threat. Sunday, mostly general thunderstorm threat with a little marginal up here in Colorado and Kansas. But yeah, no, Tennessee's fine. There ain't nothing going on out there. Now, precipitation-wise, today actually we have a level 2 excessive rainfall outlook here for today. Includes a little bit of southern South Carolina, a little bit of central and southern Georgia. For tomorrow, that does extend a little bit into Florida here as well. Another level 2 up here towards Colorado and a little bit of northern New Mexico. At least 15% chance of flooding here. The green is at least a 5% chance overall. Sunday, we got 2 level 2 threats up here in portions of the Rockies and Plains, and working our way over here into Monday, extending into Oklahoma. A little bit of a flooding threat there for Monday and then Tuesday. So yeah, it seems like we're going to be seeing quite a bit of flooding concerns out west here. Now, one of the big things that's been going around, and a lot of people have been talking about here, is how cold it is going to get. My goodness, look at this. The CPC, so this is days 6 through 10. You can see that, in terms of temperatures out here, we are going to be a little chilly. A little bit colder than normal here. You can see that we do have a lot of darkish blue colors over here by the mid-Atlantic portions of the plains, the lower Midwest here. In which, look at this, at least a 60% chance probability of below normal temperatures in that region. Now, for the PNW, the Pacific Northwest, it's a little different. Yeah, Pacific Northwest actually is expected to be above normal. So the red indicates above average temperatures. The blue indicates below average temperatures here. And that gray kind of indicates normal, kind of near normal temperatures expected. But yeah, that's for days 6 through 10. So 6 days from now to 10 days from now, this is that. Then 8 days from now to 14 days from now, here you can see that things kind of hollow out a little bit here. A little bit north, a little bit warmer in the north, a little bit warmer in the south, and in the middle, it's just kind of a little hot dog going on here, A little bit chilly here towards the central U.S., so, that's kind of what we're looking at here for days 8 to 14. Now, precipitation-wise, like we mentioned, we have a lot of flooding going on here in the west. Flooding risk here for the next several days. I mean, the Pacific Northwest is actually in a pretty good amount of precipitation. We're going to be seeing quite a bit of rain out here for the Pacific Northwest. Over the next several days. Once again, this is 6 to 10 days out here from now. So 6 days away to 10 days away. You can see that we're going to be dealing with a bit of, a bit more precipitation towards the Pacific Northwest, the Rockies and even the plains here. A little bit in the southeast too, maybe a little bit above in terms of precipitation. But it is going to be a little bit dry though, towards the Ohio Valley, towards the Northeast, towards the Great Lakes. It's definitely going to be a little bit more dry, or a little bit more drier out here. And then, of course, we do have the gray areas, once again, kind of showing normal conditions here. But definitely expecting a bit of precipitation here for days 6 to 10 across the plains and the Rockies and the Pacific Northwest. Now, throughout days 8 to 14 here, whenever this decides it wants to load, which, could be never. Hopefully it'll load here soon. But whenever it decides to load, we will show you. Here we go. Oh. It says it's loaded, but it hasn't loaded. Hey, let me try refreshing the page, maybe. Maybe that'll do it. Sometimes it just needs a good old refresh. I don't think I've updated it in a while either, so that's could be why. Let's see. Oops. Let's do the precipitation, and we'll do 8 to 14 day, maybe. Maybe their servers are just being a little bit slow or something. Here we go. Okay. Well, that's different. CPC precipitation. Why is it bringing up the flooding outlook? That's weird. Hello? Well, if it wanted to load, I could really show you. But, at least for days 6 to 10, like we mentioned, definitely going to get pretty, pretty above average in terms of precipitation here for, a lot of the west and the central plains. And a little bit drier up there towards, like, the Ohio Valley and, the northeast and all here. Okay, why is this not loading? Like, really? Y'all, weather-wise, is being stupid. Let me try it again. Let's see, 3 times the charm, they say, right? Here we go. Precipitation. And then days 8 to 14. Maybe there's just so many people using this site. Let's see. Sonia says you're in a heat advisory. Oh, are you? Here, let's enable those warnings here, actually. I already got some of those enabled here. Let's turn on the heat warnings and stuff like that. We got fire. Turn on those. Turn on the heat advisories. Here we go. I don't see any heat. Oh, there we go. Yeah, out west we do have a lot of heat advisories. You can see, yeah, the west is actually, wow. I'm just now noticing how many extreme heat warnings we're having out here. Yeah, look at that. So there's a lot of extreme heat warnings up in like southern Florida, Southern California, southern Nevada, a little bit of here of Arizona as well, a little bit of Oregon and Washington State. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little bit warm out there. You're in Washington State, yeah. Yeah, a lot of places are in even the extreme heat warnings out here. Even a fire weather watch for some of those areas out there. Yeah, be careful out there, Sonia. Make sure you take frequent breaks. Yeah, heat is a big concern here. Oh, here we go. Now that it decided it wanted to actually load. So this is the days 8 to 14. So 8 days from now to 14 days from now. So basically a week to 2 weeks out, essentially. The Weather Prediction Center, or the CPC, has this over here. Days 8 to 14 being a bit more above precipitation up here in the Pacific Northwest, going through the Rockies into the plains and into the southeast here, but still, the Ohio Valley and the Northeast, still kind of normal to below normal in terms of precipitation. So, y'all, the way that it's looking here is it seems like we're going to be dealing with a bit more drier conditions, in these areas of the country. Here, I should probably move this over a little bit so you guys can see it. Yeah, but we're going to be dealing with a lot more below average precipitation in, this part of the country here for the next couple of weeks from what it looks like here overall. So you've been drinking a lot of water in the hot weather. Yeah, I don't blame you. That's good, though. It's good to obviously stay well hydrated during all of that mess. Then we got weeks 3 to 4 here. You can see it. Then in the extended range, things might pop up and get a little bit more above average. But yeah, it looks pretty dry though, y'all, for the next couple of weeks out here towards the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. So prepare for that. It's going to be a little bit more drier. Temperature-wise, actually going to be a little bit more cooler for some of these areas out here, especially kind of towards the Mid-Atlantic and the Tennessee Valley. A little bit of the Midwest, Central Plains. It's definitely going to be pretty chilly, below normal here. Let's bring up the models, though. I want to see GFS, see what we got going on here. We'll pull up the 2-meter temperature anomaly. So let's take a peek at that here. So there's GFS. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Really getting cooler. So this is for the morning of the 26th. 51 out there in Illinois. Here, let's... thermodynamics. We'll pull up the 2-meter temperature shaded here. Oh, wow. That's certainly like fall weather right there. Look at that. Early fall going on out here. Shoosh. Yep, so that's the morning of the 26th here. You can see that, we're well in the 40s and 50s through the plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, Northeast, Great Lakes. And then you got Florida still doing its Florida thing. Still kind of normal down here. But anyways. So that's that. Definitely going to be quite a cool down. Yeah, we're going to see a pretty good amount of cooling going on. And, during the daytime, too. Look at that. This is 2 p.m. on the 26th. according to GFS. I mean, the plains could get up in the lower 80s maybe, but, most of the Ohio Valley is going to be maybe in the lower 70s. Crazy how all the cool weather is rolling. I know, right? Yeah, it really feels like fall. I mean, those temperatures there. I mean, the mornings being in the 50s and 40s in some spots, and then during the day being in the lower 70s and even upper 60s. I mean, yeah, that's certainly a lot cooler. Absolutely. Personally though, I don't think it's here to stay. I think it's just kind of a little shift in the weather pattern here. Sometimes you have these moments where weather acts weird. Sometimes you have these shifts where, for a little bit things change. I think this is probably one of them because, we're still in August, man. Obviously we're going into, September at this point in time, but we're getting ready to. But still, we shouldn't be this cold. It shouldn't really be this cold. This is more like October type of weather. This is whenever we start getting into October. We still got all of September, which is still fairly warm for a lot of us here, So, I wouldn't count on it to stay, personally. I think we'll probably come back and maybe see a little bit more warmer conditions again at some point, but it's a little too early to tell when. Because it looks like it's going to get pretty chilly for a while here. I don't want to go too far down the models, as you can see. Yeah, I like to keep it within 150 hours, but definitely getting a lot cooler. Look at this. Look at this, y'all. This is for the morning of the 27th here, according to GFS, and you can see the Ohio Valley's in the lower 50s, upper 40s. And then during the daytime, 2 p.m., that's right around the hottest time of the day. Typically the hottest time's like 3 or 4 p.m., but 2 p.m. is certainly one of the warmest hours of the day. You can see that, we're going to be in the mid to maybe even lower 70s. What's weird is that 2 or 3 nights ago, it was 47 degrees at night, and the temp shot up. Let me guess, it was a clear night. See, here's the thing, y'all, and here's a little bit of a fun fact for you guys. So at nighttime, obviously nighttime's the coolest part of the day because it is, there's no sunshine, and obviously, but clouds like to act like insulators. They're really good insulators, in which they hold a lot of heat, and they really are good at insulating. So whenever the clouds are gone, that's when you typically see your coldest nights. Is because there's no cloud cover to hold in that heat. That's why I was wondering if it was a clear night that night, because if it gets down that low, there's a good chance it could be. But anyways, just curious if it is or not. But yeah, typically the clear nights are the really cold ones. Absolutely, it's pretty cool how that works. But it's just simple thermodynamics. But anyways, yeah, we'll keep you guys updated. We'll keep you all in tune here with everything that's going on. See, yes, it was a clear night. Well, that had a lot to do with it. Guarantee. Our weather in the past year has been weird. It has been for a lot of people, actually. Yeah, you're not the only one. It's been a little odd for some areas here. Absolutely. But anyways, folks, well, that's that. There's a bit of a breakdown for the temperatures, precipitation, severe weather, flooding, all that stuff in the next little bit here. We already talked about the tropics, so if there's anything you guys want me to look at, I will be more than happy to. It's good to have you guys here for another update. Yeah, like we mentioned here, regardless of what's going on, y'all, we're going to be updating you guys on everything every day at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So 7 Central. So be sure to to be here whenever we go live. That way you guys can stay up to date with everything. And you guys know we'll keep you updated. I guess we'll do another run of the tropics. Yeah, we'll be live here for a little bit longer. I guess we typically do about an hour update lives or whatever. But a little bit of an update on the tropics again. We have 3 systems that we're watching here. Obviously we have Aaron still ongoing here. It is now a post-tropical cyclone. It's no longer a hurricane, even though it has very similar traits to a hurricane. I know this is Category 1. It's based off the wind speeds. Believe it or not, down in time, we are going to actually see the system strengthen a little bit here. On the forecast track, Hurricane Center does have it actually picking up some strength here. Farther down in time. Despite not being a hurricane, this says Category 2, but it's equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane. It's not a hurricane anymore at this point because it's rolling into cooler waters. It's out of that tropical, field essentially. So it's no longer in the tropics essentially. It's out of those waters. But yeah, I mean, the system's just going to keep on going to the north here. We actually are expecting a little bit of strengthening going on because, sometimes that big temperature differential, because the system, while it is going in cooler waters, is still holding a lot of heat, in which, all that heat being released into the cooler environment can actually keep the system going pretty good. As it continues pulling up further north, still holding on to a lot of heat and working its way into the cooler environment, that could definitely aid in its strengthening. They work a little different. It's not like a hurricane that really depends on the warm ocean waters. A lot of this is still thermodynamic based, but don't want to get too deep into it. but yeah, I mean, just know it is expected to pick up some strength though as we pull up to the north here. But yeah, hopping back over to this guy, we're about to have a tropical storm more than likely. Hurricane Center has an overall 90% chance of development here throughout the next 7 days, which, is pretty darn likely. Throughout the next week, we have a 90% chance of formation. The next 48 hours, next 2 days, we have an 80% chance of the system becoming at least a tropical depression, which Hurricane Center, they did say that by the weekend we could see a tropical storm here. Look at this. Tropical storm is very likely to form this weekend. So, take that into consideration. And also, they did mention interest in Bermuda should monitor the progression of the storm here, or the progress of the storm. So, we'll keep an eye on Bermuda. Once again, that's kind of what we're paying attention to. Right now, system's fairly disorganized, but we got a pretty good shot of development here. So that's 90L. Then we have 99L here, this guy. This one's probability has been dropping. Not really expecting a whole lot on this guy here, honestly. There's not really a lot of guidance suggesting it being anything major. Couple of models suggest maybe a tropical storm, but most of it keep it below tropical storm strength here. System will continue rolling west over the next several days. Eventually working its way towards the lower Antilles here overall. But yeah, overall formation in the next 7 days, we got ourselves a 30% chance of development. And then throughout the next 48 hours or the next 2 days, we have a 20% chance here of overall development. So we will definitely be sure to keep you guys in the loop, and we'll keep you guys updated. Now here in the EPAC, we got another system here, but yeah, this one's just working westward. This one has an overall 60% chance of development here in the next 7 days and a 20% chance of development in the next 48 hours. But that's that. So, yeah, just 3 systems in the Atlantic. Once again, we got Aaron rolling out away. The conditions are, pulling away from the U.S., of course. They've already been pulled away. Same thing for Bermuda. Still, like I mentioned, the waters out there are going to be a little choppy. We still definitely do have a bit of a rip current concern here overall. But Aaron, for the most part, is pretty much done. It's just going to continue going eastward. It's moving very quick. It's moving at 33 miles an hour right now, so it's moving pretty fast. And then, of course, these two we'll watch. This one, don't see much potential on, to be honest. Probability is dropping pretty quickly. And then, of course, we do have ourselves 90L here, the new one here. This guy has a pretty good shot at developing here. Most likely will remain east of Bermuda, but there still could be some impacts for Bermuda. And like I mentioned, Hurricane Center, they said interest in Bermuda should monitor the progression of the storm. Watches or warnings could be required on Saturday, so we'll see what happens. A handful of the models keep this thing mostly subtropical storm force for Bermuda, but nothing's final yet, and we'll keep you guys updated. We'll make sure that you guys are staying weather aware and up to date. Okay. Well, that's a bit of the rundown, y'all. That's really about all we can talk about tonight here. Just kind of wanted to do a touch-up on everything. So we'll be live again tomorrow. We'll let you guys know what's going on here. So we'll keep you guys up to date. Once again, tomorrow at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, every day at every day at 8 o'clock, we'll be sure to be live here for you guys to keep you guys up to date with everything. Regardless of what's going on, we'll be sure to keep you guys updated and everything like that. But like I said, the big things on the headlines right now. Got some fire weather going on in the west. A little bit of fire weather. A lot of heat really going on in the west here for a lot of these areas. These are extreme heat warnings and heat advisories for the most part. Got a little bit of fire weather up in the Pacific Northwest going on for areas like Washington State. We got that big cool down coming for a lot of the central U.S., a lot of the mid-Atlantic regions, Tennessee Valley. And then, of course, the tropics. We got 2 systems we're watching for potential development, and then, of course, Aaron working its way out. Then, of course, lastly, we have this other system in the EPAC, but not really too concerned as of right now. But that's really about it. See, I figured 99L would have a better chance of development, especially if it went into the Gulf, but I guess not. It's a little far away, and conditions while it approaches the Gulf doesn't really seem likely. So it'll more than likely it's just going to fizzle out, to be honest. Don't really expect much out of it, at least with the guidance that we have now. It doesn't look very crazy or anything like that. But you got to remember, I mean, while, yes, those sea surface temperatures are absolutely very warm in the Gulf, it doesn't mean that that would immediately put a tropical cyclone there. There's other things as well. Like we mentioned here, there's other things as well, like wind shear. Kinematics are very important. If there's a lot of wind shear, it prevents, these storms from happening. And then you got moisture. If there's not much moisture in the air, that's going to really prevent convection from occurring, keeping that storm sustained and really kind of helping transport that heat around. The convection really does that. And without the convection, it, there's really not a whole lot of development with the system, So, yeah, but I do get it. I do get what you're saying. Yes. I mean, if the other conditions are met, the waters are obviously warm enough to handle a tropical system, so, but as of right now, there's no imminent threat for anything like that. So right now, Gulf's quiet. Nothing on the models. Nothing in the future. But all right, everybody. Well, hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you all for joining. But yeah, we're gonna roll off here now, a little bit early because like I said, we already went over everything. We already went over the tropics twice. Went over the cool weather. If y'all just joining here, make sure you rewind, watch the stream again, and we'll be sure to keep you guys up to date and everything like that. Okay. Alrighty, everybody. Well, thank you all for joining. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't already, please consider leaving a like as well. It'd be greatly appreciated on your way out. And alrighty, everybody. Well, thanks for joining. You guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Who knows? Maybe we'll do an afternoon update or something. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But definitely, if not any of that, we'll go live tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. Okay. So, hope to see you guys then. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. You guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, my friends. See ya later on.